All right, guys, we are finally back after what seems like a very long wait. It's been a whole 2 weeks, as I'm sure many of you know. The 14th episode of Attack on Titan was delayed a bit
Mhm.
by a week because of an earthquake that happened. So it was finally released today, and we're going to be releasing our video today.
Yeah. Um, it was a big one though. A big episode.
It was a big episode.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I had seen the first 17 minutes after like the day that it was supposed to come out. Those had, been floating around the internet because those were actually aired that day. But yeah, I didn't see the final bit until today. Um, yeah, initial thoughts.
Really good episode, really great episode. I feel like we say that every week we come back here, but I mean, I don't know what else to say other than it's just great, without actually going into the specifics. I really like the fact that we got to see the things that have kind of been building up to this point, things that we have been kind of predicting and things that we weren't predicting. But yeah, just really cool to finally see things start to.
Yeah, I feel like this episode had like a really good balance of like um action and just plot or like
Yeah,
character significant dialogue. Obviously the first bit was all focused on Aaron, Mikasa, and Armin and like how their relationship has changed and how Aaron has changed, it seems. And then yeah, we got the whole Levi Zeke fight, which yeah, I thought was a very well animated and very like fun exchange.
yeah, I agree. But yeah, with that being said, let's get into the analysis.
I think like the big question here is like whether or not Aaron is being legit about all this stuff. So he comes, he has this conversation with Armin and Mikasa about how he's free now and how both of them are, sort of being manipulated by their blood in certain ways. Um, Seems pretty serious about it, but like, does he truly mean all of the things he says? And the big one is like, does he truly hate Mikasa? Like, has he truly hated Mikasa? And honestly, when he says this, like I think there's a way to make like a main character like a villain in a way that feels cheap, like oh they're just evil now, but it kind of does feel like he has like kind of hated Mikasa since day one, like showing his actions and the rest of the show.
Mhm.
Um, I really has never liked her that much, even though she's sort of done everything for him.
Yeah, even when he was a kid and he saved her and like he like gave her the scarf, it wasn't like, oh, like I'll protect you. It was like, here, like stay warm. And there's other scenes where like they're interacting, it's always like cold to some degree. The only one I can think of where he actually was like really like protective of her was when the Titan with royal blood tried to attack Mikasa and he punched it. That was like the only scene where I could see him kind of being fond of her.
Hmm.
But to play devil's advocate and something that like I want to happen because it's hard to see, like the main character from the villain. So I'm sure I'm just in mind. Something that I would propose is that all of this he's saying is to help her break out of that mindset. He's saying that because she needs the a reality check to realize like what is happening and that she is just blindingly accepting what Aaron is saying and just will protect him at all costs. But he really wants her to develop her own feelings and do what she thinks is right, even though he's doing what he thinks is right, and I don't think he's going to change that. He doesn't want Mikasa to blindly follow him and then eventually end up dying or getting hurt.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when he's talking to Armin right here, there's this shot that I think is very telling. I think it's just like a nice little Easter egg from the animators, and probably it's in the original manga. But uh, in this particular shot right here, when Aaron is telling Armin that he like is basically Bertolt now, or part of him is Bertolt, Armin like is drawn to sort of look like Bertolt. Like if you look at his nose and his eyes, yeah, I thought that was like just like a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah, a lot of nice touches with the animation in this episode, I think.
Mm.
There was even one final point where towards the end, I mean, this whole discussion was basically about how they aren't free and that's why he doesn't respect them or like that. That's why he hates Mikasa. But then there's a line where Armin says like, "Who's the slave now?" Essentially, And you can see this really kind of gets to Aaron because that is his whole mentality. He's like, I'm fighting for freedom. I want to be free. So like you can tell that that really struck a chord in him in that scene right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like Aaron thinks he's free now, or like I think Aaron feels like he had this big like revelation in his mind.
Hmm.
Um, but I think he's unsure because what he's doing right now is very counter to a lot of the things that he's done in the past. Like we had that episode a few episodes ago where he's in the cart and he tells them all how important they are to him.
Hmm.
Um, it's not easy to just drop that all within the span of like 2 years or whatever. So yeah, I don't think he's entirely sure in his convictions. And when Armin says stuff like that, I think it makes him doubt. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, and to touch
Also,
on that, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, please.
Yeah, to go on that same note, it does seem like, and again, I could just be reading into it because this is what I want to happen. It does seem like to some degree, Aaron could be still being manipulated because, as you said, it is a pretty drastic change to have happen, and he does seem to be convincing himself of the fact that he is fighting for freedom and he is doing what's right. Repeatedly in this season, we see the different points where he's kind of at conflict with himself and is really unsure as to what he's doing is right and is trying to convince himself of it. So I would like to think that maybe in this, well, in the next episode, the final episode that's going to come out, we do see a little more as to what caused the change. As far as like more like specific details, we've seen a lot of it, and I think seeing the point where he changed would be more interesting and would probably shed some light as to whether or not he is doing this all on his own will.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one more just sort of funny thing. I think I read this in a YouTube comment, but uh, I think they said that Aaron pulled the 10,000 IQ play here because he argued with Mikasa because he knows he can beat her in an argument, and he fought with Armin because he knows he can beat Armin in a fight. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah, I saw that as well. That was funny.
yeah, but yeah, that was a strong scene between these three.
So the next big thing that happens directly after that is we finally get to see Zeke escape and start to play his plan into motion. I think the scene where they're running away and Levi just staring at him like that was pretty funny. But we finally see the scream and find out that the wine was contaminated with the Zeke juice that was going to turn them into Titans. And we see a scene that shows us just how many people were affected by it. And it's a lot of the higher ups, almost all of them, which is pretty terrifying to think about because I'm sure they're going to do something with these guys as well in the coming episodes. So
Yeah,
that's crazy.
notably Pixis
Yeah.
has the stuff in him. The
Mhm.
military police chief has the stuff in him. Hanji doesn't,
Yeah.
but she's a scout, low
Yeah.
class, and Falco obviously does.
Yeah. It seems like the scouts were saved, but yeah, a lot of the other higher ups are pretty fucked. But we do get to see a cool scene, a cool fight scene with Levi dropping in on the Titans and then him fighting with Zeke in a bit,
Mhm.
which was a nice change up from the past episodes, which has been more just kind of talking and low key. But yeah, I think as for this part, that's about it.
So we see Flock come out here while Keith Shaddis is training the new recruits who are already kind of not with him. And then Flock sort of makes them do something kind of heinous. He makes them, beat up the cadet corps commander, which they do. And I think this is kind of a brutal scene to show like the way that the Jaegerists are operating. But I also think that this goes, or like my take on sort of all the brutality that is happening right now is that it's kind of coming from Flock and not Aaron. I think that's a question that you might have, and yeah, like I don't know. I get the vibe that Flock is about this stuff, and Aaron is sort of about like violence when necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like Flock is going way too hard and harder than he needs to go. I mean, he tries to shoot him in the leg, but he misses. I don't know if that was a joke, but he did use a lot more force than necessary. And the fact that he made them beat up their training officer after they'd already agreed to join him is so much more aggressive than it needs to be. I think you're right in the fact that Aaron, and I mean, like I've said a few times, it could just be the fact that the audience doesn't want to see the main character being this heinous, as you said. But it does seem like Flock is being, he's taking his liberties. I'll say that. Um, but yeah, I think that's something to note here. And then we have a nice little scene after this that kind of touches on something I was saying earlier about how Aaron seems conflicted. We see after it shows all these scouts kind of imprisoned, it cuts to Aaron at this window, kind of pondering what's happening, and it kind of paints the picture of him being unsure as to if what he's doing is right. And I think that again kind of touches on the fact that maybe he is being manipulated. I think something that Attack on Titan likes to do a lot is paint people as the villains, and then we turn like it turns out that they weren't really fully in control of the situation, or that wasn't really everything that they wanted to happen. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that like who knows what the final theme of the show will be, but maybe it's that like freedom doesn't exist, right? Like, um, it seems that Aaron feels that he's like very free right now, but there seems to be some pondering, there seems to be some questioning, and maybe he isn't. Good chance he isn't. So yeah, we'll see.